Hey, what's up, lightboltjoe here. Today we're going to discuss the 2024 Netflix original film, Time Cut, hour 30-something minutes long, very quick. I don't like the ending at all. It's just so dumb. And one scene, particularly in the mall, really pissed me the piss off. Um, let's talk about this. Now, this film is compared heavily to the 2023 Amazon Prime original film, Totally Killer. The only similarities is that it involves a high school girl getting in conflict with a time machine and having to go back in time to stop a serial killer from slashing. The masks of the villains are almost identical. This time cut is a watered down version of the mask of the killer for Totally Killer, and that movie is longer. I think it's rated R. It's much more violence, much more terror elements to it. Kiernan Shipka's the star of that. Incredible, right? Wonderful. This is a very watered down PG-13 TVMA, no, not even TV-14 version of that, if you want to compare. But that's the only comparison. Teenage girl goes back in time via some time machine to stop a serial killer from killing. That's it. That's the comparison. Two different decades. This particular film takes place in 2024 and 2003. That's the time jump. And the Totally Killer film goes back to the 80s. Has nothing to do with 2003. So, semantics aside, main character's name is Lucy. Her sister, there's like a 16 age gap between the two of them. Summer, she is one of the four victims of the serial killer in this town that they live in Minnesota. And the serial killer was never found, and so her parents were distraught and wanted another child immediately, so they started various rounds of IVF, and then she came about many years later. That's why there's such a giant age gap between the two of them. She comes in contact with a time machine that is located at the same barn and the same spot that her sister was murdered in, because that's explained. It's not. How it got there and why it was there, again, not explained. So she goes back in time to April 16th, 2003, as opposed to April 18th, to 2024, when we're starting this. So that way she can stop the murder of her sister on April 18th, 2003. So on the 16th, some of her sister's friends are killed at a mall. 17th, her sister's friend is killed at a marine museum, and the 18th is when she's killed. So the killer has a 3-day killing spree, 4 victims, blah, blah. So when Lucy gets back in time, how does she prove that she's a time traveler, and who can she ask help? Well, Griffin Gluck, who is the best part of this entire film, because he can do no wrong, it plays his character Quinn, who knows his science and his nerddom stuff, and he's wearing a Dungeons and Dragons shirt immediately when we first see him. So he helps then Lucy figure this out, and they figure out, oh, well, this conveniently local nuclear company called Sonar, which her dad works for, all convenience, happens to be the facility that made this particular time machine, or made the antimatter vessel that they need for the time machine to be brought back. That way they can get her back to 2024, something to that extent. But then the moral question is, if she does anything to the past, will it alter the future? So she does something in the past, and she actually winds up getting a security guard at the mall killed as well as the other 2 friends who were the original victims. So she inadvertently then created a 5th victim to this then pattern. If she then continues to help, will she create more paradoxes, things of that nature? So it was a good physics talk at one point. That was it. The mall scene was so atrocious, and it kills my soul because I love a good mall scene. Especially throw us in a time period. 2003 is a time period now that it's just horrifying to say because I remember it vividly. But now, since it was 21 years ago, we can use that as a backdrop for stories. So the wet slide store at the mall, the girl is saying, oh, we're going to close. I can't let you in the dressing room. But the girl begs anyway. She lets her in the dressing room. And then all of a sudden the lights are off. And then the girl is nowhere to be found. Where the hell is the store clerk through all of this? Why is the gate not down if the store is actually going to be closing? Things little minute details that somebody who never worked in retail doesn't know, and it's infuriating. Whoever wrote this, no. Moving forward, as the story progresses, we get an explanation that future Quinn is the serial killer from 2003. So the serial killer is the one who could also time travel and goes back to 2003, where his villain origin started after he was thrown in the river. But because Lucy was there to prevent that, therefore that timeline Quinn is not going to be that killer, but the original timeline Quinn becomes the killer. But how does Quinn come in contact with time traveling machines? How does Quinn come in contact with the knowledge of the sonar lab being the facility that has the antimatter that's needed to get the transporter together? Is it only because Lucy was there? So then you're creating a paradox of a loop. The only reason that the time machine works is because Lucy goes back in time, and the only reason the time machine allows Lucy to go back in time is because the time machine happened to be there on the anniversary of her sister's death. There's too much of a paradox, and it's not explained. I don't like that. A paradox that is explained, which is also a Netflix property, and I will praise this show to the day I die, is Dark. 3 seasons, all in German. Netflix's Dark explains time travel and paradox perfectly, but they explain it. This just briefly goes around it and like, blah, 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 paradox here, and oh yeah, it's me from the future. I'm like, what kind of reveal is this? This is dumb. This is just dumb. I didn't understand why this was allowed. It's not a matter of me not understanding the reveal, because the reveal is stupid. It's a matter of who allowed this. My biggest concern with this is Chris Landon is an amazing writer, director, producer, the works, right? He does everything. He did the Happy Death Day franchise. He did Happy Death Day in 2017. He did Happy Death Day to You in 2019. He is wonderful. And so this project, this time cut project, is produced by him. He's one of the producers. There's like 10 producers, but he's one of the producers. When I saw his name on this, I had extremely high hopes for this because his Happy Death Day to You franchise is a horror teenage time travel blip bit. He knows how to do that. The first it was very much horror, and then the second was very sci-fi horror in regards to why the time travel blip keeps happening on Tree's birthday, stuff like that. Explained. But there's the serial killer stuff, right? Who is this murderer? What's going on? Explained. So when I saw Chris's name on the credits for this originally before I watched it, I was like, oh, this is going to be great because Happy Death Day to You and Happy Death Day to You with the baby face killer, it's wonderful. This was not wonderful. And I don't know if it's because he didn't write it. I don't know if it's because he didn't direct it. I don't know who wrote it. But that person should never be writing anything again because this was not it. This was not it. Not it. First and second act were fine. Minus the stupid scene in the mall. I can overlook that for the first and second. First, fine. Building up. Second, we're there. Right? We're in 03. What's happening? Third act reveal with no explanation of how the time machine got there in the first place, how Quinn's knowledge of the time machine knew to be gotten in the first. It's just, I can't even form words. That's how aggravated I am with this particular project. I am disappointed. I am let down. I can't blame Chris. I don't blame the actors. I blame the authorizing aspect of who allowed this to happen. Did you read the script? Did you read it and say, you know what, this ending makes no sense, let's change it? Or was it approved for a different thing and there were rewrites happening as they were filmed, as that happens sometimes, as we've learned recently with Madam Web? I don't know. I think we're owed an explanation. I think we are owed the original cut of the film, which I'm assuming would have a logical ending, but this ending was not logical. It was illogical. It was dumb. No. Time cut, Netflix original film. On to the next review. Mucho mahalo.